revolutionize. For partnerships, things like this, working with SAME, a great organization to facilitate partnering, that's what we hope to do. And that's the only way we're going to continue to get, whether it's disaster response or, the infrastructure build that's coming down the pike. So partnering is the only way we're going to get through it. And so that's really all I had. I'm not sure how much time, if this put us back, or if we have time for questions or discussions. I apologize for whatever's going on with my middle of nowhere internet connection.
So we have a question from Bob. Go ahead, please.
Okay.
And my question was there any involvement in either with the SAME posts? And if not, what role do you see the posts playing in other recovery efforts?
I'm not sure. So our Mississippi Valley Division had the overall lead for this response, and that's General Diana Holland. She, the districts that fell under, so the New Orleans district that managed the, Public Law 8499 authorities clearing the channels, the Memphis district that handled the ESF3 response, debris removal, power, roofing. I imagine their engagement with their local SAME organizations always plays a role. We try to be active in forums like SAME. I don't know specifically who they worked with, but I definitely think, just like our contracting folks said, that establishing those linkages early and in the blue sky period, if you will, are instrumental, so that you're known quantities going into the disaster. Someone told me once, waiting until you're in the middle of a disaster to exchange business cards on the tarmac is a terrible game plan. So I would think the importance of forums like this, organizations like SAME, are crucial for ensuring a synchronized, swift response.
Yeah, I found that the Post needs to reach out to the Corps and others to let them know that they're available, because the SAME is not thought of as an additional resource. And especially a post like New York City, where most of the major engineering firms have a large office, it's a good resource that could be tapped by the Corps. On 9/11, we called the local commander and told him we're available, and his command was stand by. We still are.
Wow. I think that's important for you guys to message that. That's a great point. I don't think SAME is the first thing we think of on the 911 type calls. Like I said, I think it's right now more of blue sky type interactions, but you're right. Like, adding you guys to the contact list would probably be the more resources, the better, to say it succinctly. That's a great point. How do we do that better? Just continue to reinforce the message on it?
Jason, you had a question?
My experience with New York was we had a readiness plan, and when the commander changed at the district or the commander changed at Fort Hamilton, we would make a phone call and go over and introduce ourselves and tell them we were there, because they were never going to call us to ask for that. So I suggest that other posts look into doing the same thing with their local commanders. Again, it's a good time to do it when there's nothing going on and when something's going down.
You're right about that. What other questions do we have? I can't see the chat. I apologize.
So, Colonel, this is Jason Bigger. I had a question about your Afghanistan withdrawal, the 24 hours, getting people into facilities and taking care of them. So all those contracts you mentioned were already in place, or you put those contracts in place in 24 hours?
So multiple. So we did convert several hotels that were just out, on the economy into COVID isolation wards or medically fragile wards or overflow And those, we mostly use the GSA contract for emergency housing. For others, for example, we had over 7 facilities, whether it was the Dulles Expo Center, the Southport Holt facility in Philly. We converted an old laser tag. We converted a Dick's Sporting Goods. Those required us to go out and work the leasing, you know, where there was none in place. And there was a lot of late night phone calls, and we tried to scope it. Those didn't happen in 24 hours. Those were more like 36. The GSA contracting mechanism for the hotel space, those were about 24. All others were anywhere between 36. And then we tried to get smart and go out and find locations and try to anticipate the requirement a little better. But, you know, definitely none of us had the memory tissue from an operation like this to anticipate a lot of the requirements. And it required a lot of agility and expert support to get it across.
Thank you.
Oh, and then permitting on installations. So we permitted the leases or did the permits for on installations. So the 9 installations that I had mentioned previously, USACE executed the lease on behalf of the Department of Defense for those as well.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one more thing on that, sorry. Through Army Material Command, AMC, and Army Support Command, which is a subordinate command to that, they did the log cap contract for services on each of the installations. Off installations, they went through, for wraparound services like food, they went through Cherokee Federal and a couple of other contracting mechanisms that the Department of State had. On installations, we used the log cap contract through Army Service Command, ASC, under AMC, and they did wraparound services, whether it was partitions to set up, you know, more private space, or food tents, or community areas, medical. They all had to have shots, immunizations. I mean, this was a massive effort across the board. So lots of different looks for contracts and leases and permits for this mission.
Okay, thank you.
Colonel, question. Yeah, so
Sure.
with the housing support in post-Hurricane Ida, do you see any more private engineering support to help renovate damaged homes, like as temporary housing? Or is that going to be more like an assurance with permanent fix type item?
So that was one of the 3 lines of effort. There were large sites, smaller sites, and those are mostly haul and install type trailer type things. There was a line of effort that is still being explored to find unleased large apartment type complexes or things like that, and it just proves more difficult in the short term to get it off the ground for whatever reason. So it's still a possibility, but it's not the main. With 4,000, we think we've got sites identified, even though we're still working through the approvals for those sites, that we wouldn't have to do something like that. But I would say it's definitely on the back burner.
Are there any more questions?
Colonel, it's Beverly in Charleston.
Hey.
I just was wondering, your sound dropped out for me right after you had said that the way to start getting involved is to just contact the contracting and small business folks in your division. And
yeah.
I was wondering if there's anything after that that I missed, or if that's like the heart of it.
That was the heart of it. I did in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat. I dropped the North Atlantic Division Small Business Director and contracting director contact information in there, so that if you wanted to, and then I covered a slide of how to get on the registry. I'm not sure if you saw that or not. Again, I'll PDF this and send it to David so that you've all got it. But it's basically 3 steps. You know, getting on the registry, looking how to search for the work that's available, and then just in times of crisis, a link that will be continuously updated with opportunities. So even if, you know, there's an ACI and an advanced contracting initiative and a prime contractor already identified, you could reach out and contact them directly for subcontracting opportunities. And so that was a slide with the 1, 2, 3, and I did drop the contact information, because the number one thing that our deputy director of contracting came back with is to establish communication upfront ahead of any event. So because known quantities fare better in getting into the game.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If you can't see the chat, you know, maybe David can link me up with you, or can I send this to you, David? I'll include those points of contact in my email.
Yes, please. Could you also include South Atlantic Division contacts too, where Beverly's at?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me track that down. I've done a lot of work. North Atlantic Division actually had the lion's share, although it, let's see, for Operation Allies Welcome, South Pacific Division, Southwestern Division, Lakes and River Division, and North Atlantic Division all had a part in this response, but North Atlantic Division actually had the lion's share of the work. So that's why I knew who their folks were. But I'll reach out and figure out who South Atlantics are and include that as well for everyone. Because that was, I mean, he said in capital letters, big foot stomp. That was the most important thing.
Great, thank you so much.
Any other questions? I don't know how we're doing on time.